Folks at home, it is the locker room. Turn off your porn, get off your video gaming, you losers, because you've got us for about 25 minutes tonight. My erstwhile beautifully spoken, well-dressed, elegant, combed hair co-host Doug Hodgson is with us, of course. Dougie, it is so good to see you. I've had a great week.
Sounds like the rabbits and the rats are up in there, but they'll be back later to listen and watch your porn too.
Now, we have got a lot to get through tonight. I actually am tipping it's going to go off tonight, but before we go there, and I'd forgotten about this, the household name, Mike Chatzitrifonos, is with us tonight.
Great to see you, Greg.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, folks.
Heidelberg United Alexander, Alexandros. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Another one of our terrific guests that Doug and puts us to shame. Our guest turned up looking ageless. Look at him, he's beautiful. He's a beautiful, beautiful man.
Do you think it's the Greeks?
Possibly it's the Greeks.
Do you think it's just that they've been under the sun, they've had good life, you know, maybe it's the cures you drink?
It's the fact that we've been away from this club for many years now, so we look good.
I looked sharp yesterday.
But, look, we've had some gorgeous men on the program, and hopefully we can continue that tradition in the coming weeks. We've got a lot to get through. Dougie's got a rant, we've got Dougie's shirt. I actually received an email from somebody out there in email land, in web land this week, and thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to try and get a little bit of a debate in as well. Why don't we first, though, Dougie, you've got some stuff. You are fired up. Actually, there was potential for me getting punched when I came in tonight. This man is so full of adrenaline. He is coursing with anger and indignation. Okay. And and just bear in mind as well, I didn't mean to shush you like that, Doug, because I know you're an explosion waiting to happen. Just bear in mind that we're working on something that's perhaps unsubstantiated at this point. There's just some allegations been made. It's really interesting, and I know, Doug, I actually don't know what's going on. So perhaps you could guide us. Mike, can you be indulgent for a moment?
Absolutely.
You know how I've done with me. I've been doing homework.
Yeah, I know.
First time ever. I've never done homework at school, or maybe a little, when I went. Yeah. Well, I've been doing homework, and this week's bananas were $10. So, which is on my list here. But anyway, that's another story. Boost just on Castle, make sure you go there.
Sometimes he speaks, and I wonder why I'm listening.
Now, this text came through to me, which I didn't know, which I think half of Victoria and half of Australia actually know how strong the FFA is. We've had debates, as we know, people, about the old NSL and the FFA and who's actually really running the show in Australia and why is the state of football in the state it is today. Alleged, and this was from a good friend of mine who works for the papers, Craig McKenzie, and alleged was Melbourne Heart, when they first started, a coach in charge of a losing team in the Championships League final earlier this century. He never became the club's first ever coach because the FFA refused to ratify the appointment. That's how, allegedly, we may say, John Van Snip got the job. However, every senior appointment in the A-League clubs have to be approved by the FFA.
We believe.
According to this, alleged. The board, the coach, the CEO, the operation manager, the marketing and managers, etc., etc. And if that is the case, who is actually running this game?
Okay, so why does that anger you, Doug?
Because the game situation is you've got people out there. I'm going to throw me mate out there, Stewie Munro. Good, bad coach, good coach, but he's got writing on the wall. He's done very well. He's done well. He's at Perth. He's done well in the old VPL. He's got, he's won Oakley 14 points. Him and I were dandy. We won 14 points. I'm not going to put him out there as a pedestal and say he's a brilliant coach, but he's got a background. He's a pedigree here. He's in Victoria. He lives here. And then we go and look outside the square that people have got no idea. I'm not saying they're bad coaches or qualified. We're looking at our own backyard. And what really annoys me, it's a job for the boys. And that's what really gets to me, and I've got a little bite because, this is probably towards me, I never represented my country. I'm not saying I should have, not saying I was good enough to.
And nobody's saying that either.
But at the time that when I could have represented Australia, I was the highest ranked centre-half in the world and played 16 games straight at Sheffield United. But I never got involved even in the camp because of the politics. The politics in this game is what hurts it, and this is what really, really gets up my game. Now to hear these alleged allegations towards that. Who is running the FFA?
It probably just underscores an age-old issue that a lot of people have always had with the game. And without going into great depth, Mike, I'm going to bring you in here simply because number one, you're a coach at the moment with Richmond.
That's correct, yes.
And also, before we came on here tonight, you did mention something that you were aware of.
Oh, I think on the first point, I need to be very careful about the Melbourne Harder point because I know the people personally. I've got John's son that plays in my team, so I'm very cautious about what I say. In defence of the FFA, I think one of the things they've brought into the system over recent years is the requirement to have coaches with the relevant accreditations, and it's probably a good thing because I think the game demands that now. So every position in the A League, whether it be senior coach or assistant coach, you need to have your A licence.
Now I'll ask you, Chatz, and I'll throw it back to you guys, viewers, and this is me. Stu, I've got my A licence. My next one's a pro licence. That's as high as I can go. And this is UEFA, which is UK. I work with Stuart Pearce, Warren Barton. Stuart Pearce does the England under-21s. I've coached Phil Jagielka, who's now will be the England captain, who I've had under my range for a year. So you're talking about people here, Munro, A-League. Now, youth team. This is what really gets up to me. And by the way, I'm not worried about a job because I've never put my hand in for a job. So I'm not here bitching about
That's because you're too busy running booze, juice,
So what I'm saying is it a job for the boys or it's right for the game? Now I believe, and I'm not having a go here with John, as he was saying about the youth team. Has he coached before? What's his background? And I don't know this.
Well, going back to Greg's point to me, on my opinion, I think my biggest gripe with that was a newly formed Melbourne club and not one Melbourne local coach gets a gig. That was my biggest gripe, not for me or you or anyone else, but I would dare say if a new Sydney club came on board, they would never ever consider an appointment from Melbourne. And that disappoints me. Of course it is. That disappoints me.
It's been happening for 100 years.
But again, the appointment of John, I mean, I think he's been a wonderful ambassador for the game. He really has. And he has, of all the coaches that I've dealt with in the A-League, he's one that really supports the local game, the Premier League. He comes to games, he will call you, he will consult you on players. So credit where credit's due.
Sorry about that, Chatz. I don't know the gentleman. And I'm not saying a bad coach.
And your point that you made is a general point.
Mine's at the FFA, not at John personally. I'm sure he's qualified to do the job and probably more qualified than half of Melbourne.
But again, I personally would prefer a local player or a local coach to be in that position, whether it be Stuart Munro, whether it be Phil Stubbs. I mean, I'll push for Phil Stubbs.
Stubbsy.
They know the local scene, they know the league, and they're great tacticians. And in Stuart's case, I mean, he's been there, done that. He's won everything that he's.
Cool.
So,
and just out of curiosity, while we're on this, because we've got to break the segments up, we've got to have a lot of time. I'm just curious to know, because I've been out of the game for so long, I always thought the most marvellous, successful coach that I saw in the game was Ian Dobson. Where's Ian Dobson?
Well, there's another one. I mean, we haven't even mentioned him. He's just, he comes back and gully and wins championships
and goes again.
But he's viewed as being from the old school.
From the old school.
And unless you're touch.
Well, I love the old school, so get stuff, that's all you need to know. Mike Chatzitrifonos has joined us, the household name. Mike, let's lighten it up because this is far too heavy and you're far too angry. I need you to settle down, take some deep breaths. Now, I haven't spoken to you about it before, good folks, about Doug's cheek. Doug, the man beside me, to my left, to your right. Inevitably, every week, he produces a guest, and kudos to him for that, the old name dropper, Dougie Hodgson. But he never tells me beforehand, so I never get the chance to, don't. He does his research, comes in, looks, look at me, I'm Doug Hodgson, I know everything.
And I know nothing.
So, Mike, I'm sorry I haven't done my research,
no,
but I do remember you, and I must say, and if we haven't mentioned it before, yeah, we did, but you look so good. You've been looking after yourself. What's been happening between the time you're playing at this fine club or
You're a good man, Greg.
You're
a good man, Greg.
I know a good man when I see him.
And when you talk about good-looking blokes, how about this guy here, eh?
Trevor Marmalade just walks into the doors.
Was he the one scuttling around in the room?
He was in the
Well, I'm not quite sure whether it's a Heidelberg thing. I saw Theo Salamantis for the game recently. He looks as good as when he bloody played the game.
We had any love. There was a bit of man love going on with places.
So it must be a bit of the Greek blood. I can't put it towards anything else because the game, I feel as though I've aged. Let me tell you, I feel as though I've aged.
Is that the coaching side, no chance?
No doubt. Rather be a player than a coach, any day.
A lot more stressful? Phone calls going? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays, just for you guys, President Tendo, listening out there?
Yes, no,
behind the scenes? Loving it. Now tell me something. Heidelberg, how long were you here for? How many games?
I grew up loving this club as a young kid. My dad was a fanatical supporter. I remember the days when this guy played, and I used to go and watch him week in, week out. I used to travel interstate with Dad by bus to watch the club. So I started as a young chap playing under 11s and progressed as the years evolved, and ended up making my senior debut at the age of 17 back in the old Doherty Cup. And I remember distinctly saving 2 penalties against Gully, and I thought, that's it, I've made it. How wrong I was, because I ended up playing senior football at a time when the club really struggled, and we went through some tough times when you were around. But the history of the club is phenomenal, and you know, you look back in the late 70s, early 80s when they were a powerhouse, the crowds they pulled here. So I was very proud just to even be part of that. Unfortunate that things didn't finish the way I had envisaged, but otherwise, no complaints.
I love this stuff, I really do, and Doug, you have seen the thread through all of these programs that we've had so far, is that no matter how far people get away from the club, there's such a surge to come. There really is, and they have these great memories, and the people that, you know, this, oh my God, I'm so annoyed right now, Doug. I totally am. I am annoyed. That would explain the perspiration and the ruddy face. And this is what happens when you get off. But again, it just reinforces to me. I mean, the game's fine now. It's all like squeaky clean. And oh, look at us, big deal, big deal. But gosh, we had a great competition.
Oh.
Best game?
But we're talking about passion in the game. You know, can you those old derbies against South Melbourne, or against Preston, or against, you know, the old Melbourne Croatia and the Footscray Just. You know, I know it was very political back in those days. You know, you were Greek, you supported certain teams, and if you're Croatian, you supported certain teams.
Which, by the way, I never thought was a problem. I'm an ocker.
Yeah,
and I've said all along, I can't. The whole ethnic cleansing thing, no, it just annoys the crap. The best people I ever met in the game, the best people I knew, and the reason I was involved, I had friends at Melbourne Croatia, and they were Croatian. So what? I had friends at Heidelberg, and they were Greek. So what? You know? I think
it's fair to say the A-League's taken the game to a different level. I think as a fan, you go and watch a game in the comfort of great stadiums, and as a footballer and as a staff member involved in the clubs as a professional. But you cannot tell me that the league has the same passion that existed back in the days where the NSL was thriving.
Thank you very much. Ding ding, we have another winner.
Although I need to also you know, make it quite known that I am a fan of the A-League. Yeah. I support both Melbourne clubs. I support them, not because I support them as clubs, I support the code.
Yeah, the game.
And it does irritate me a little, and I'm not quite sure whether you're in this basket or not. But it irritates me where people stay away because they refuse to be involved in the A-League. Well, if you're a soccer person, get involved. You know, we want the game to be
successful.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, Greg and I was speaking, we spoke with other people, Chatz, is you've got 100 odd kids or players, whatever, professionals out of Australia.
Yeah.
You know, to take that out, that's a fair call. Let's be fair. Say 10, that's nearly the whole ladder, every team.
Yeah.
So they're out. So the game is not going to be that good at that level. If we're taking it to another level, because they're out doing their trade overseas and doing things.
And the old argument of you know, did we have better players back in the NSL days than we have now? That's irrelevant. You ask any player that played in the NSL, and their biggest regret would be that they weren't around whilst the A-League was here.
That is a really good point. That's really.
You know why they play? Because Greg, they're playing, and would love to. Well, I did. I was lucky enough. I was fortunate enough to wake up every morning and go train.
Oh God, here we go with Doug's career.
I'm just saying,
you had a storied career. You were
brilliant.
You were.
Well, I'll tell you what. I came across. I won't mention names. I don't want to offend anyone, but I came across an old Melbourne Croatia official. He's known to yourself. I'll mention to you after that.
Okay.
And he made me laugh because he mentioned the fact that when he was involved at Melbourne Knights, back in the NSL days, he had a player on board who was on 10 grand a year and who's currently on 200 grand at Melbourne Victory. So there's the difference.
But the thing is, the game, what I'm saying is it's professional, like we said, Chatz, the game's professional, it's involved, they're at a different level, they've got the physics, they've got everything going, the game's changed, gone to the next level, which was, you know, that's the way it is, and players would be loved to be part of it.
Now you were right. I have withdrawn from the game, and I actually feel terribly guilty.
Because you were, and without pissing your pocket, right? Am I going to say that?
Right. Well, it's far too late.
It's too late. You're live. It's okay.
You know, I mean, you were at the forefront of the media back in the NSL days. I mean, Greg Blake was a household name.
Yes.
Household name.
And I'll vouch for that.
So you know, I see you today, and I think you lost the game. And I think the game's lesser.
We've lost him.
Well, that's
the game's lost him.
All right, so Melbourne Heart or Melbourne Victory, you want to give me a job doing some promotions? I'm more than
where's Peter Zero these days?
I spoke to he's on my list, and I'd send him a happy Merry Christmas.
Oh, aren't you a sweet?
Oh, you're a Merry Christmas to Peter.
You never send me a Merry Christmas.
Okay, now I'm going to send you some pictures.
No more pictures.
Okay, so Pete's still around. He had a stroke, I believe, a few years ago, but he's still involved and still doing the so-so, which is great. But Chatz, go back to you if we can.
Yeah.
Biggest career. Sorry, mate.
Just before we do that, Dougie, because I've got to make sure that we're on a 25-minute time limit today, and our director, unfortunately, is currently checking his text messages instead of giving us time calls. So we're just going to fill in quickly while we get a time call, and we will talk about Boost Juice. Just give us some rough idea of how much time we've got. Worst director in history. I'm sure he worked for us.
I think he's high-fiving.
Thank you.
Is a segment sponsored by Boost Juice? So I hope it is.
Well, Boost Juice has been on here quite a few times. Boost Juice Doncaster. Make sure you go and see, get your good fresh smoothies and fresh juices.
Now, Mike, I'm really sorry that we're on a time limit. So
no, that's fine. Mate, this is the best half an hour I've had all day.
So, Chatz, tell me something.
And if I was to turn, I'd kiss you right now on the lips.
A career, 2 penalties, the start of it.
Oh, that was the start.
Fantastic.
That's probably the best part of my career. It all went downhill from there. Oh, look, I was
biggest moments you've had in the game here.
I was very fortunate to develop as a keeper under the guidance of Jeff Older. I was number 2 to him for many years. I had Jakubanovic here at one stage, so I was very fortunate to work under 2 great keepers back in those days. At a time when the club was relegated and promoted, I got an opportunity. Then I think there was mid-year of the Gary Cole reign when I rolled up the training. And I remember young Louis, who's now president of the club, he came running out to my car and he said, "I've got some great news for you." And I said, "What's that, Louis?" He goes, "They sacked Jeff Older." And I'm like, okay,
J.O., if you're watching.
I know Jeff very well, and I'm sure he'd be laughing if he was here at the moment. And then I just caught a glimpse of Jeff Older, and you know what Jeff was like, just storming out of the car park, stinking out his ears. So I got an opportunity. Then the following year, we probably had. It was probably the pinnacle of our campaign. We ended up winning the cup, the Australian Cup against. We played.
Sydney.
No, we played Parramatta Eagles up at Sydney. At Marconi's pitch, and that was probably the highlight. Having won that, and then under Gary McDowell, we had a great run under Gary, where we won I think 3 or 4 in a row. And then
South 2-1.
2-1. We beat Preston here in front of a full house. 2-1. So they were the good days, and that was a damn bloody good team. Let me tell you. We had Stubbsy in the team, and Andrew Goudzoulis, and Alan Scott, George Slivkas, yourself. It was a very good team, and it fell apart from there. It fell apart from there, and there were troubles off the park, and players departed. I can remember one day we had a team meeting, and the players were owed, a fair amount of wages, and Peter Tackless, who was the president at the time.
Oh, this never really happened.
No. I remember Andrew Goudzoulis saying to him, "Peter, I need money. I live too far away. I need the petrol money." And Peter said to him, "Well, mate, go and find a club close to your house." And then 6 months later, the word got out that Andrew had signed for South Melbourne, and Peter was furious. Yeah. And he approached him and said, "Mate, how could you leave us? How could you leave us?" And he said, "Well, mate, you told me to find a club in my house. I have."
That's around the corner.
So that were the good days, but there were some pretty down days, and when the club got relegated, that was a downer. But overall, this is a great club.
Let's just go with a couple of quick ones, one-off answers, and then we've got to go to Doug's shirt, and then we've got to have the debate, which I promised this person via email. He's found another gaily coloured one, which is somewhat symbolic, I would have thought.
Athletic.
I've totally forgotten what we were going to do. Best player you played alongside?
Phil Stubbins.
Okay. And best player that you played against?
Mark Verdugo.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably scored about 15 goals 3 times against me, so I can't go beyond him.
Thanks if you're watching, well played.
And just quickly, the best coach that you were...
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I think I never really played under Len McKendry. I was number 2 here to Len McKendry. But in terms of what he instilled in the team, he was by far the most successful coach in my time. But I never really played under him. I thought, Len McKenzie would have to get my vote.
Okay.
Have you took any of his? Have you took any as a coach now, Chatz? Have you took some of his falls into goods?
I don't think, going back to the old school that Greg had brought up before, Len is the old school type. I don't think he will survive in today's game because he will lose players immediately. I mean, he was very every Tuesday, Thursday was the same sessions, but everyone knew the job.
Mate, I'm actually hating the director right now. I
Wasn't
fond of him in the first place. We're running out of time. I'm going to ask you to do something because there's a couple of points that you've made tonight that I would love to draw you on, and I'm begging. This is the first time I've begged publicly for a very, very long time. I wanted one night down in Barclay Street. You have no idea. But other than that, and that didn't end well, folks.
There were a few plays up.
I would love for you to avail yourself of us again at some point in the near future, if you would be kind enough.
This is my old stomping grounds, and I would I love coming here, to be honest. And I see the old faces out there that I've seen for the last 20 years there, and I've got I live locally as well, so there's no issue. You guys do the segment. And I'm more than happy to return at your call. Just remember that. It's a household name.
You forget what you forget. I see how many minutes are left, idiot. All right. The debate we cannot have because we don't have time because we're getting a time call. But the debate, seriously, we have to debate this. I got an email talking about what's more relevant, first past the post or playing off in the finals. So we are going to have that out. Okay. We are going to stand toe to toe, and I will crush you like the dog you are. Now, quickly, before we run out of time, we've got 3 fingers left. Apparently,
Oldham Athletic shirt. This was the shirt of the week this week. JD Sports. Oldham Athletic. Got the story behind this one was Neil Warnock, Leeds manager now. Used to be at QPR. And also Crystal Palace. He's had his rounds. He's had more. He's actually gone to Wembley more times than the Choo-Choo train. I think he has. So anyway, he's gone in there. He's moved me to Oldham. 150,000. Actually, it was a swap deal. £550,000. I'm very disappointed. The club, you guys out there, I was with you because they sold me over X amount of money. The club Heidelberg got X amount of money. So when they done a swap deal, obviously they changed whatever they had to change to make sure the club got no money. Because Dougie had some of that money too, as was do with the boys. But this particular shirt, he's there. They put me into a hotel, a B&B, and it was the worst B&B they've ever put me in life. So I rang him, and he was at Plymouth before that. So I rang him, and he and his wife is on the River the Thames in a rowboat. And he's got Dougie Hodgson at the other end of the boat. Where did you put me? Blah, blah, blah. He said, Doug, I'll speak to you later on. Put his phone down. So, Gaffer, still love you. Good luck at Leeds United too, mate.
Yes, and I think we're quite missing him. Mark Hughes hasn't quite produced for Queen's Park Roses, my club, as you know. So we are really running out of time now, folks. I'm not necessarily sure I'm comfortable with the time limitations. However, we do what we do as we do it. It has been wonderful to see you, Mike. Really, it genuinely has. We are going to drag you back. You're a very, very handsome piece of man.
Love you, Coley.
Gary, honestly, when you come on the show, you have no idea the adulation.
Is Gary watching this?
Well, I hope so. He is. We hope so.
We want to encourage.
We're trying to get him on the show.
Well, if Gary's watching it, can you ask me the question again, please, about who my best coach was as a
Gary Cole.
I forgot his name completely. Gary Cole. What am I looking for?
All right, so Dougie, great job this week again. I'm astounded that you're even literate.
Well, then you know.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. We will see you in about 7 days' time. Dougie will have a special. You've got to say something, don't you?
Debate.
Yeah, the big debate. We've got to have it. If you want to have some input, I'm sure you can access us through the website, which is www.something. Anyway, go back to your porn, get a life, come back and see us next week. It's been great. See ya.
Good night, guys.